Well, good evening, everyone. This is Witness 1, William K. Murtathon, and we're going to try this again tonight. Tonight I'm going to talk about the EBSA case and the radio interview that was done by Joseph Ramos, who was her companion during their on the run situation, where they took a grand tour of half of the United States. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a series of bullet points that were compiled about what happened. And, basically just go through what was said on the air. And hello, everybody. Hello, Levi. Hello, Chad. Yes, the weather's doing good down here. It's in the 60s, not snowing, so there's that. We did have a cold spell here for a few days. That seems to have gone away. And if the focus goes in and out, it's not a little bit beyond my control because the camera decides it wants to do things. And so let us start off with... Now, on the first day of the interview, Joseph Ramos got into the details about how this all went down. Now, Joseph Ramos is a medical student at the University of Colorado in Denver. That may be changed to was because he may have risked his situation with getting involved. Now, he came and slept on the couch starting around the first week in September. He stated that someone had tried to break in the house, according to Cynthia Absug, and that's how he became to be there. JW says he feels that the break-ins were staged to ramp up her fear and paranoia, so that Children's Crusade could manipulate her. Now, this is an early sign that the control by the Children's Crusade was starting, and that it was an early indication that their intent was not a good one. And it would help if I transitioned that. I kind of miscued that a little bit, but here we go. I hope I'm not competing too bad with Monty tonight, but this will be recorded in its entirety, so you guys will be able to see it. This was done by Alex for me. I appreciate her work. She went through and monitored the show and did everything point by point by point, because I simply didn't have the time to do this, and she's very professional at what she does. So my hands off to her for helping me out with this. Okay, and let me get the second slide set up. So basically, he is starting out early on expressing concerns about the true motive of the Children's Crusade. Okay. Now, okay, moving on. Joseph and Cynthia picked up Ryan at the airport and drove them back to Parker. Talked a little bit. Ryan was sent by the Children's Crusade for protection. Thought that was kind of a curious thing to be doing. It may have been sent by the Children's Crusade to for other purposes, but that's getting into speculation, so we'll go with what's been written. On the 14th of September is around the time they picked up Ryan from the airport, sent by the TCC, and was told that he was a sniper and a military guy. Was said to her that he was a very skilled marksman or had former military intelligence of a combination of the three. Cynthia said he's kind of weird and kind of quiet. Assess the situation and follows her around. Ramos said he never saw a gun, and Ryan only brought personal belongings, one change of clothes and his iPad. Again, hi everybody. So basically, the scene is being set here for how this other individual keen to be in the house. And a side story was being set up that this guy was some big deal. He used to have military background and so on and so forth. It's further giving this woman the impression she was working with someone with a lot of power and a lot of influence. Okay, when he got there, Ryan, Cindy, and a man named Ken were on the back patio. First time Ramos met him was on the 26th. Doesn't recall if over text or phone calls the four were talking, and then Ryan comes out and says, "We have to go. They're going to start coming after you now. They were going to apprehend her and were going to use taking Hannah as leverage." So this is getting into criminal intent. The original plan was to fly out of Colorado, but not 5 minutes later he said he had gotten communication that it would not be safe to fly, that she could get arrested and airports wouldn't be safe, so they were going to have to drive. Roughly 10 minutes after Ryan stated that, Cindy then asked if Joseph could drive her out of state somewhere safe out of Colorado. "Are you going to receive false imprisonment, or are they going to hurt you?" is what Ryan was telling Cindy. Ken in that time was asked if he could watch the house and the dogs. Cindy said if they would rent a car in her name, they would track her, and Ryan says they will be looking for him. So he couldn't get his name on a rental because he would be apprehended. Cindy sat him down and asked him if he would consider taking her out of state for her safety. He says at that time he thought maybe going over to Wyoming and then he could come back were his thoughts. He didn't think that this would lead to a whole other thing. That part's a bit confusing, but it's getting into the mindset that they were basically going to break the law, and this is criminal intent at this point. The outline of the fact that they were going to be leaving Colorado by car and had not got in yet to where they were going to be going. And it looks like this was done in a hurry and without a whole heck of a lot of true planning. Now, this is where the gun comes into play, or at least one of them. Cindy bought a gun 48 hours before or the day that Hannah was taken and called Joseph all excited that she got her first gun. Excuse me. A snub-nosed .38 special, and the owner of the gun store will take her shooting for the first time, and had her on the calendar one of those to-dos that week. In the process of Cindy asking Ken to take care of her house and dogs, Ryan also tells Cindy to give Ken her gun. Joseph was busy helping Cindy pack up the car and doesn't remember why Cindy should give Ken the gun. Yeah, that seems kind of strange, it's her that's going to need the protection. Why would she give a stranger a gun unless she thought the guy was a better shot? They stayed in Wyoming overnight on the 26th to the morning of the 27th. Cindy makes a phone call to the detectives and had an appointment with them, and she called them on Joseph's phone, and that morning they left Wyoming to a safe house in Wisconsin. They arrived in Wisconsin on the 28th. On the road, Joseph was paying for gas and was financed between Ryan, Cynthia, and Joseph at the time. They arrive at the safe house, and it is Field McConnell's house, and it is important to note that when they arrived, he was surprised they were there. Joseph said Ryan and Field were in communication, and Ryan stayed at Field's home before. So I think that kind of puts a question mark on Field being surprised that these people showed up. I think he knew all along that they might be coming, and the timing was just off. It was Joseph's impression that Field had no idea they were coming to his house and welcomed them in, but it was his impression they had no idea they were coming. They were there for one night and one day, getting used to the house, and Field spoke of TCC and who he was as a person. Joseph said they stayed there for a few weeks. Cindy told him that she felt safe in Field's home. His overall impression of Field was pretty great and seemed to have a good heart. Gave Cindy ways that he could help with his previous background in the military intelligence, flew F-4s in Vietnam. Definitely in a safe place was buddy with the sheriff. Thought that one was kind of funny, since it was not that long after being buddies with the sheriff that the same sheriff arrested him. Kind of put a damper on the sheriff-buddy situation. Okay. Bear with me here. All right, for some reason, slide number 5 is on. There it is. No. All right, technical difficulty here. I lost slide number 5, so not sure why that happened. There we go. Thing's not cooperating for some reason. This is not a professional show, so if I goof up every once in a while, you're going to have to bear with me. I have to make this so it's readable. Come on. But I find it, it's curious that we're getting into everybody knowing ahead of time what was going on. Well, it's going to be one. Almost had a professional presentation. All right. During this time, it was becoming apparent that Sarah was getting caught up in her own lies. Same situation at Dana's, and Cindy feels not enough was being done on her case. Sarah has a 9-to-5 job with a kid and is not doing enough towards Cindy's case. Ramel's school made a missing person report on him, and his family didn't. Kind of telling as to why he may have wound up gravitating towards people like Cindy and conspiracy theorists. Sarah was telling them they may have to leave the country. Diplomatic immunity passport was given to Cindy. She carries it in her purse. TCC seems to help in some aspect and totally drop the ball in others. But there was enough to question everything. So we're getting to a point where he was beginning to wonder if they were in a legitimate situation or not. It was at this point where Cynthia should have realized that she was not in a good position and dropped the whole matter and turned herself in. But of course, everybody around her was telling her no, stick with Field, all will be good. And, we know the rest. Excuse me. On October 3rd, Joseph drove to Plum City for about a week or 8 days. Ryan was still there during this time. They said for Cynthia's safety that she shouldn't go back to Colorado and stay out there for a while. Joseph told Joseph about all the people who were going to help with her case and could expedite her case to an executive level and put it on a very important desk, who could sign away her problems. I would not be surprised if we're talking about Donald Trump at this time. Field used code names for people who were in the Children's Crusade. Seemed like there was a set organization for TCC, but it wasn't a big corporate entity. Field told them drones and surveillance aircraft is watching, and told them that they would have to leave the house immediately. After they left Field's place, they went to Osceola, Wisconsin, to Dr. Olson's offices. I didn't realize there was an Osceola, Wisconsin. We have Osceola County down here in Orlando. That's kind of interesting. But it looked like that Field thought it best to get them the hell out of the house, that he may have stepped on a minefield having them there with all the problems he was having with the state of Florida. So he figured he might as well get these people out of his house. Joseph Ramos was Cindy Ann Bugg's traveling companion for months. The owner of the shop was called by Field, stating that there were surveillance drones and planes, and James White says, "Who are these people coming after us? They are already proven kidnappers. These are wholesale criminal kidnappers." October 4th, Ramos was back at Field's home and left again the 8th of October and stayed at the office of a friend in Osceola, Wisconsin. Dr. Olson, a.k.a. Dr. Good Vibes. They showered and Olson gave them clothes. He drove back to Plum City to get all their stuff from Field's home. The trio left again on the 9th of October. During this time, other members of TCC had been in touch with Cindy, Sarah Duncan, and Dana Daves Smith of Great Falls, Virginia. Ramos had heard from Cindy in the latter weeks of August about the Dana person. She was managing Cindy's case and helping her with money and paperwork. She had a diplomatic immunity passport filled out on Cindy's behalf, and then Cindy signed it. Was to use passport to protect her from illegal searches and seizures. Interesting. That's a violation of federal law. Dana also offered her home outside of D.C. in Virginia could be a safe house to escape or run from bad people. Ramos only won with the car, and Cindy asked him to take her to Virginia. Now, that's diplomatic immunity is something that you just don't hand out like a $2 bill. There are laws and guidelines regarding that. If she's misusing that, this Dana person, that is a very serious violation of all kinds of laws there. Now, the car he was driving was registered to his deceased father, and he thought they were pulling a fast one on bad people because the license would have revealed his father's name and not his. If they were looking for him to get to Cindy, they would have had his other car. Sounds like they were willingly engaging in violence and avoidance of law enforcement, which is clearly obvious at this point. had to stay in office overnight of the 8th. Olson brought belongings back to his office for the trio, and then they thought of ways or safe grounds to run to, and Cindy came up with Dana. Olson arranged for $5,000 to be wired to them from Dana. Olson advised them that using cash would mask any travel, as electronic debts could be traced. He's half right on that, but you can't, even cash transactions aren't going to avoid you. Most commercial locations have cameras. They left Osceola on October 9th, arrived at Dana's house on October 12th, stayed outside of D.C. the night before. Big, gorgeous house. Took care of vehicle oil change and tune-up. Gracious host. Cindy can stay as long as she wants. Ryan flies out the very next day on the 13th of October, and they, Joseph and Cindy, thought it odd that they were looking for the trio. If they were looking for the trio, why would Ryan fly out of a large airport? Probably because he wasn't thinking straight. These people, this Joseph Ramos is not too bright to have gone on a radio station that's monitored by federal authorities and state authorities for that matter, and blurt all this out. He has screwed Cynthia 9 ways to Sunday with this. Anyway, moving on. Joseph and Cindy at Dana's for a week and left on October 20th. Dana was trying to coordinate with Sarah to take care of Cindy's house to keep rent payments going or move her belongings to a storage faculty. Cindy and Dana worked throughout the day and trying to get things done on her case. Catherine Hines, Ruth Ann, Sarah Duncan, and people were taking care of her house, Cynthia's. They also were drafting a leave of absence for Joseph for his school because it was not true, and if he submitted, could have jeopardized his career. He did not go through with submitting the excuse to his med school. At some point during this time, it was brought to Cindy's attention by Dana that there was a warrant for her arrest, but she was never told for what. Told about the warrant, but not shown the warrant. Asked for it, but never saw it. Sarah Duncan told Dana about the warrant. Cindy believed that she had to lay low from false arrest warrants. Cindy, becoming agitated that nothing was really done on her CPS case and believed she could do a lot more by herself. Told them to get burner phones because smartphones could track location. This sounds like an episode of The Gang That Couldn't Shoot Street. They're making, it's just unbelievable all that's happened here. Okay. The thing about this, if the school ever got wind of this, the printed materials that I'm talking about, Patriotic, is a summary of the 2 interviews that Joseph Ramos gave on Northwest Liberty News, dealing with his experience being on the road with Cindy during their being on the run. And it basically is making the case for the prosecution, because when the prosecution gets their hands on this material, which they already have by now, this is going to get a whole lot of people charged with aiding and abetting the commission of a felony involving a firearm. So it's not too bright of these people. Anyway, the paperwork to give Ramos school was based on lies. We're going to have a doctor write a note for him. Had called Christopher Hallett, who is a notary in the state of Florida and has a barcode, which is wrong. And Cindy had heard of a couple of parents similar situation as hers, and the paperwork he filed seemed to have success. Ryan was with her when she delivered the paperwork prepared by Chris Hallett to the governor's office. He specializes in loss prevention, and CA thought nothing was happening in Virginia and was intrigued by his company E-Clause. On the 20th, she told Ramos that he could stay or go, but she was going to Florida. On October 20th, they left Fairfax County, Virginia, and headed to Florida. On the way, they stopped at her friend Ash's house on October 21st. They stayed the night at her house in Georgia. Asha brought Cynthia some clothes and a suitcase for her belongings. Headed to Ocala, Florida, got to Florida on the 23rd of October, and stayed until November 10th. Met with Hallett several times and went to his office. Didn't even call. Stayed at the Shamrock Inn because they could pay with cash and not with a card. I could tell you a story about Shamrock Inn, but we'll save that for a later time. Let's just say you can buy a room there for an hour or less. While in Florida, Damina Davis Smith had wired more money, about $2,500 in total money for fees for Mr. Hallett. Ramos talks of TCC board, and from the sounds of things from what Cindy told them, Sarah Duncan is one of the founders and in charge of financial and marketing. Field was a spokesman because of his YouTube show and connections. Others with legal backgrounds, finance, and so forth. He isn't aware of how or where monies came from. Ramos met Holmseth briefly in Plum City at diner. Wrote an affidavit for Cindy, drafted and notarized by the notary public Chris Hallett. Said they were using burner phones to avoid detection by law enforcement. This means that being a notary for Cindy Abzug, Chris Hallett may have been participating in a felony. This is against the terms of his having a notary license in the state of Florida. I gotta check something here because I had problems with. Alright, I'm not sure if I've done this one before or not. I had a problem with setting up these slides, but this is part of the situation, so I'm gonna put it in here. On November 6th, alright, let me transition this over. Sorry about that. Okay, on November 6th or 7th, Cindy gets in touch with Sarah Duncan. They both had a list of people they had contacted and family contact numbers for each other. Cindy reaches out to Sarah and lets her know they are doing paperwork with Hallett and why they left Dana's unexpectedly. They dropped out from TCC to go to Florida. No one knew where they were but Asha. Dana didn't know. Sarah didn't know. No one from TC knows they are in Florida until Cindy contacted Sarah. Sarah then gets into Cindy's mind that in order to get to the next safe house and out from under the radar would to come near her in Arkansas. Her entire family is there. She says she is born and raised there, has lots of connections, knows sheriff, the judge, the police officers, and thinks that will be a safe place for Cindy. Dana could no longer send money because of other mothers need help. The next place would be next to Sarah in Arkansas and her dad, and she has political connections. Now, it's interesting to note here that this Sarah Dunklin, her father is running in the GOP primary for the Senate. And if he is in any way, shape, directly involved in this, then his political career may have come to an abrupt end. Left Florida on November 10th to arrive in Dumas, Arkansas on the 11th. And Ryan is there in Arkansas. And they realize that Ryan is Sarah's boyfriend. She had not revealed this prior to them realizing it when they got to Dumas. They stayed in a hotel for a week. They end up in a scummy hotel that used to be an old inn, and half of it got burned down. Pendleton Inn. November 11th to until November 20th or 21st of December, they were in Dumas. So this is the daughter of a United States Senator candidate harboring a fugitive from justice. Okay. This is about the most careless thing I've ever seen anybody do. Okay, final slide. During this time, it was becoming apparent that Sarah is getting caught up in her own lies. Same situation at Dana's, and Cindy feels not enough is being done on her case. Sarah has a 9-to-5 job with a kid and is not doing enough towards Cindy's case. Ramos' school made a missing report on him. His family didn't. I have a feeling I put this slide up before. Kind of telling as to why he may have wound up grappling towards people like Cynthia and conspiracy theorists. Sarah was telling them they may have to leave the country. Diplomatic immunity passport was given to Cindy, and she carries it in her purse. Yeah, I think I've read this before, but I'm reading it again. TCC seems to help in some aspect, and they drop the ball on others. Now, there is... I just made the same mistake twice. Excuse me, folks. Now, there seems to be an indication that we have someone that was involved in this crime, an accessory after the fact, basically confessing on a internet talk show, breaking the law, and in the process, he's got all these other people involved in breaking the law. Not a terribly smart thing to do. Now, there's supposed to be a third segment to this that's going to drop tomorrow. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do any live streaming of it. And depending on when this falls and when I'm able to get another summary, I'll either do something on a recorded video tomorrow night, or at some point we'll get into the last part. But it just seems real interesting that this guy is going on a show and confessing about everything, that he's getting these people ready to be put in jail, raiding and abetting a fugitive. And to whom it may concern, I got your message saying you're watching. And I'll tell you this once again, if you have any concerns about Mr. Holmseth, it would be best advised that you quit leaving your little notes and do something to get him out of a situation, because writing secret notes on Twitter is not going to help your case any. You need to take the right steps, go to authorities, get Tim Holmseth into protective custody, and then take the next step beyond that. Leaving cryptic notes in Twitter is not going to help your situation, nor is it going to help Mr. Holmseth. And you're welcome to watch all you want. Now, that little message was given out to someone that is supposed to be a friend of Tim Holmseth. And this person has been leaving biographical notes to Randy Erickson because she is concerned that Randy is doing something that is not in Tim's best interest. And sorry about the lighting. For some reason, the camera, when I moved the camera to change the angle, it somehow is triggering the mechanism that controls the exposure on the camera. Now, I'm going to try and lower this just a little bit. Let's try it this way. Let's see if I lean back, if that, well, that helps a little bit. I was getting the, what they call a washout, because the camera is directly underneath a big long light. And now, what I'm trying to do is get a better angle for people to look at me at. Okay, we'll try that. And then see if excuse me, if there's a better way to have this, so if I have to move around, I'm not glaring the scene out. Gradually I'm getting this. Kim P, it's all over. Contract connected to Jewish mob. Really? Oh well. No, I don't need protection. I think you misunderstood. Let me outline because of this little message that went out. There's been someone on Twitter that's had a great deal of concern about the welfare for Tim Holmseth for quite some time. And he is afraid that, he or she, I'm not, a gender has not been identified, although I have a pretty good idea who's behind that particular account. But anyway, she said that in her various messages that she wants Randy Erickson to leave Tim Holmseth alone, to set him free, has told Tim Holmseth he should run away, get away from them. And my suggestion has always been that it's better for Tim Holmseth to be in custody for a misdemeanor warrant than dead. And I think if she were to start looking at Northwest Liberty News and Joe Ramos's interviews, she's going to realize that Tim Holmseth is in with a very bad crowd. Now, Tim Holmseth has been on Will Have Gone Dark now for 13 days. And nobody's heard a thing from him. Now, there's someone that made a comment on my YouTube, on one of my YouTube videos, that stated that Tim is okay and he's doing a lot of stuff. And excuse me, I'm reading. She just sent me another message. And I'm going to read this directly off this direct message I'm getting so people understand what the concerns of this person is. According to the Twitter direct message, Timothy Holmseth signed everything over to Blizzard Witch. This is Randy Erickson. His website, his books. She has power of attorney. If TH wanted to escape and finally realized they were only making matters worse and complicated for him. That is a question. What will they do? Kill him? If TH winds up dead, Blizzard Witch will have hell to pay. And she's exactly correct. Because based on this particular situation that Joseph Ramos and Cindy Ebbsug found themselves in, you're talking about people in high places that have a lot of money. You've got a daughter of a political candidate spreading money around. You've got this woman in Virginia that claims to have the ability to sign diplomatic immunity paperwork and provide passports, which when you're helping a person that is on the run from a felony warrant for arrest is a felony all in itself at the federal level, not just at the state level. You know, these people have a lot to lose. And if you got a loose cannon like Timothy Holmseth running around, you know, that's basically Timothy has signed his death warrant by being around these people. And this person over here on Twitter understands that. But again, getting on Twitter and posting these things is not going to help Tim Holmseth. Getting him in to protective custody will. Now, she could file a complaint with the FBI saying that Tim Holmseth is involved involuntarily with a group that is aiding and abetting at least one fugitive from justice and perhaps more. There could be a network of mothers being helped in the same way in order to duck these cases. And it doesn't matter, you know, yeah, the money is probably from YouTube and donations, but the point is it's being used to commit felonies. This is racketeering and so forth. This is RICO, classic RICO. You're committing interstate crimes, and you're getting money to do that. So this is what's going on here. And if Tim Holmseth were to come forward without taking the proper precautions and blurt all this out, he's a dead man. You know, no kidding aside, no conspiracy theory, no speculation, just the facts. That if Timothy Charles Holmseth has found himself in a place where he cannot control his situation, he's a dead man. Yes, I hear you. She's unblocked me. She blocked me and then unblocked me and blocked me and unblocked me. And she's giving me these messages, but she's doing nothing to help Tim Holmseth out. And this is where we're running into a problem. You know, I may not be friends of Tim Holmseth, but I sure as hell don't want the man dead. He could do a lot of good by exposing this stuff because he is not helping children by getting mixed up with people like this. You know, this blowing money to have this woman going all over the country is not helping. She is going to lose custody of her children because of this stunt. She's never going to get them back. You know, I don't care what she argues in court. She is not getting her child back. She went on the run for several months, and that basically sealed the deal as far as the state's concerned. This gets before a jury, and the jury hears all this stuff. They're going to say, sorry, lady, your kid's gone. You're going to jail. Your kids are gone. Because you made so many stupid moves that you just can't recover from that. And that's where we are here. And the problem we're having with Tim Holmseth is that he could bail himself out of the situation. Okay, now she's saying that she contacted the FBI and they don't give a... Well, then what she needs to do... Okay, I've got to do something here. This is kind of live. I've got to... You know, if you're on this channel, Twitter person, I just suggested someone you call, get a hold of. Now, you may not like that person, but remember, that person is an officer of the court, and she might be able to get Timothy into a safe situation. You know, you may not like the woman, but she doesn't want Tim dead either. And your best opportunity at this point is to turn to this person and get help before it's too late. Because what's important here is the life of Tim Holmseth, not any grievance we have about him. There are times when you have to get over hatred of somebody and say, look, we got to set our grievances aside for a better purpose. Now, I did that with people that are helping me now and that we are friends with. There was a time back, way back when we literally hated each other. We were wishing each other dead. We were saying we were going to piss on each other's graves. I mean, we had a dogfight that you wouldn't believe. But in the end, we finally realized that it was not constructive to being having this war. We found out that we were being played, and we went ahead and did something about it. And right now, we're good friends. We associate with each other. We help each other out. And that's the way it should be. You know, hatred can send you down a very, very dark path. Now, I don't hate Timothy Holmseth. I don't like him. It's a big difference there. I don't like what he's done. I don't like what he's doing. But I don't hate him. I just want him to straighten out his life and stop the nonsense. All right. And I'm trying to get it through this person's mind that Kim could help. At least she's communicating with me. In the past, she would say something and then she would block me out. But at least she's keeping an open communication going here. That's half the battle. You know, just leave our communications open. If you don't want to say something, fine. If you want to say something, at least it's there. But, you know, this is kind of an interesting situation. I'm sitting here talking to this individual and you people at the same time. But what is important here is Tim Holmseth may have found himself in over his head. He may have found himself in an extremely dangerous situation. And that may be the reason he's dropped off the radar. He may be hiding someplace trying to figure out what the hell to do. Because, you know, he's looked around, he's seeing this woman being caught by the FBI and the state police and so on and so forth, and is seeing that Phil McConnell did nothing for her, and that Pendergrass did nothing for him, and that all these other people have done nothing for him except exploit him, and now he's trying to figure out how the hell he's going to get out of the situation. And the best way to get out of the situation is going to be to get the hell back to Minnesota, turn himself in, get himself a public defender, explain that he may have information to give in exchange for immunity from prostitution or something, and grow the hell up. And Kim, if she wanted to, could probably help in that. I know Kim is concerned about Tim. She wants to see him out of his situation. I'll say one thing, she's stubborn. Well, Levi, what's interesting is that I am in contact with our mystery person on Twitter right now, and she's resisting going to Kim when Kim is probably the one person that can help her out. Now, I've offered to have Tim contact me directly. Probably won't happen because Tim doesn't like me at all. He thinks I'm all this other stuff he talks about. But the thing of it is this is rather odd situation I found myself in. Here I am doing a live chat, and I'm communicating with a person who wants to help out Tim. And damn, this camera is really acting weird tonight. There it goes. If I move, the camera goes out of focus. Alright, if this thing would move, I gotta see what's going on here. Yeah, I had a feeling there was somebody in the room. The guy, whoever this person is that's in my chat, I think he's scared and he's putting up this kind of postings. I just got a message about Dino Sinatra, and well, Dina, I got bad news for you. The extradition papers are on the desk in the state of Wisconsin, so you might want to do some research. And, are you harboring Tim Holmseth? Are you putting his life in danger? Is that what's going on here? Because you seem awful concerned about coming in to my show and saying these things. So you must be afraid of something, Dino. So out with it. What are you scared of? It is likely that Phil McConnell will be transported to Florida Monday. If he hasn't already, it will be Monday. It takes 48 hours to get things going. And so the paperwork from the governor's office would have to be shipped down to the sheriff's office. All right. All right, well, that takes care of that. She just blocked me again. So, I guess she's not willing to help Tim out. That much is clear. Yeah, she's going to keep playing games like this, then it's going to be too late for Tim. I offer to help, and she's just refusing my help. Okay, I'm getting a message on Twitter. Last night in a public forum, I asked an alleged lawyer from Florida if she could help me remove a commercial lien. I was told some short while later that it was possible for her to do that. Anyone care to make comment on the veracity of that claim made in public evidence? Number one, if it's the lawyer I think it is, she practices family law. And whether or not she would be able to get a lien removed would have to be her call, and not someone like me that is not a lawyer. Now, is it possible to get a commercial lien lifted? Yes. You have to go to court. You have to hire an attorney that knows that part of the law and find out why the commercial lien was put on your property. Now, normally with a commercial lien, it's somebody like they put a roof on your house and they put a lien on your house until you pay for the roof and stuff like that. Or if there's some reason they feel you owe money for something, they'll put a lien on your house until you pay the debt. That usually has to go through court. So what you have to do is go to court and argue your case, and you need an attorney who specializes in this area to do it. Now, whether this particular lawyer can do that or not, I don't know. So there you go. They may be this particular person that sent this to me doesn't follow me, and it's probably it's a McConnell supporter. It's a person that goes by Martha, and I'm giving her a legitimate answer to a legitimate question, because I can't say whether or not that Kim could do that. She practices family law. Kim would have to answer that one. So, okay, here we go with personal attacks. Okay, Mr. Sinatra, why am I a liar? Explain this to me. Dina Sinatra, answer me this. Why did Tim Holmseth block me from his Facebook? What is he scared of? I'd really like to know that. I mean, for someone who's trying to get the message out, he blocks people that disagree with him. Well, if any lawyer can do it, fine. I am not a lawyer. I don't know enough about the law to know whether or not a lawyer of any specialty in practice would be able to lift a commercial lien. Again, you have to go to court. One of Field's followers asked a question, and I'm willing to answer the question. They asked me a question, I'll answer it, and I did. I don't block people, which Dino Martin is finding that out. You know, he wants to be an asshole on my show, then whatever. Well, Dino Sinatra, what is the false rumor that I am spreading? The material I read tonight came from the mouth of Joseph Ramos. You can go to Northwest Liberty News and listen to it. Beth, I'm gonna, I don't care if Dino runs his mouth because it shows the mentality of these people. They're more interested in personal attacks and anything else rather than providing specific evidence to back up his particular reasoning or her particular reasoning. Yeah, I got 87 people, so what? I'm not in a counting contest. These are 87 people that decided to come over and visit. Now, I'm making a point. I'm not really making it about Dino. I'm making it about the point that this is the mentality of these people that are out there. That rather than argue facts and stuff, they would rather engage in personal attacks and come over on my channel and troll it, which, that's the way it happens. So now that I got that part out of the way. You guys don't know how to find TCI. Well, I have asked KitKat a half a dozen times, give us the link, put it in here. Tell us where Timmy's at. Why are you afraid to tell us where Timmy's at? That's what I'd like to know. As far as I'm concerned, if Timmy has decided to go into hiding, then, that's one less problem to worry about because he's not out there spreading his propaganda. All right, not sure what Primrose is supposed to be about. It's probably somebody that's in here. But thanks for the message anyway. Well, Dino, you have no facts either, so here we go. You know, I just told you, you can go and look at the video for yourself. There's 2 videos, there's a third one coming out. Well, if Timothy is in Minnesota, then he might want to get a hold of his friend down in Virginia and let her know that he's safe, because for the last 14 days, that person's been trying to get a hold of Tim to find out if he's okay. And Tim knows who it is. Tim can contact her and say, hey, I'm fine, everything's cool. I don't see Tim doing that. Now, why is Tim hiding from her? You know, this woman has helped him out a lot over the last 10 years, and he's not doing anything for this good and trusted friend. I find that rather telling. Well, Kansas, I'm glad you're here. You know, if you're late, that's fine. You know, people have lives outside this chat. Yes, Julia, Tim is being isolated. It's clear because he should be able to reach out to a very close friend like this one that comes in and out of my account and assure her that he's okay. But he's not doing that, and I don't understand that. If I had someone that close, I would be calling her up on the phone right now and saying, look, I'm fine, don't worry about it. But he's not doing that. So, and Dino Sinatra certainly isn't here to help him out. He's just here to disrupt things. Yeah, I guess Dino is something of an attention whore. Which, yeah, what the hell. I've dealt with trolls for years, so this is nothing new. This is mild compared to what I used to go to back when I had 4,000 people on my chat. I never saw a chat go so fast in my life. That thing was zinging along like a Ferrari. Well, for someone that thought they were able to destroy Field or destroy Monty and Agent 19, that sure backfired. It's Field McConnell that's on a jet plane to Florida, not those two. Yeah, Tim is, that Kit Kat or whatever the hell her name is, if she wanted to, assure people that Tim is alive and well, she could real quick, put up a post stating that. She hasn't done that. Oh, heck. Interesting. Well, hell, who was it that said that Tim believes that the warrant is only good for 12 miles. I'll put this over there. I don't understand what's going on with Google Chrome, but... Alicia, Tim probably had his car laptop taken away and told he could be kicked out if they didn't shut up. That's likely. Somebody has got Tim under their thumb. Because Tim doesn't like to shut up. When he lost his YouTube account, he went ballistic. And he found a way to get back online. He's got Facebook. You don't see him on Facebook. He's got this BitChute account. You don't see him on BitChute. Where the hell is he? And then we get someone come in and claim that Tim is out there and that everybody's found him. But there's probably 86 people right now that would like to know where Tim is at. Just so they could check on what he's doing. So that would be interesting to see if somebody would come up with a link to put in here saying, okay, where are you at? Carol, basically, why would we care? We care for morbid curiosity. And we, because yes, there are things that we don't like about Tim, but we have a situation here where a guy that's not too bright has gotten himself in an extremely bad situation, and he may be dead right now for all we know. And I'm quite serious about that because, we got some very powerful people here controlling the purse strings and controlling his life. And you gotta remember that more than a year ago, Tim Holmseth was able to buy a $12,000 car for cash. Or a car under $10,000 to get around the law about reporting stuff like that. So, there's something going on here. So, so you got this moron in here trolling my channel, and I guess they have nothing else better to do. I guess Timmy's not on the air, Timmy's not writing, there's nothing over on Facebook that Randy's doing that's worth reading. I gotta come over here and troll my chat, which is fine because, they're adding to the viewer numbers by doing that. For every person that's in here for more than a few minutes, it boosts my analytics on Twitter or on YouTube. So you're actually doing me a favor. That's. You're welcome, David. Trolling a troll. That's about as clever as it gets. Well, knock yourself out there, Dino. Or whatever your name is. Get out the popcorn and watch. Melina, if he's in Minnesota, he would probably be alright as long as he doesn't get in a situation where he gets a ticket or for some reason gets stopped by an officer and asked for identification. If he slips up and gets confronted by law enforcement, then he will be arrested on the spot. Because that warrant, regardless of what Tim believes, is good for the entire state of Minnesota, not just 12 miles from the county. So, what does who do for a living? I'm on Social Security. I've told you that a dozen times. Yeah, Gray, you're not going to get anywhere with the troll. They're not here for anything other than to disrupt. I think it's kind of cute myself, but I drove people away by paying too much attention to trolls, so I really need to stop paying attention to this moron. Yeah, go Canada. Where is Monty? He might be on his show. He usually starts up about this time of night. I thought I saw something about his show. Let me see. Subscriptions. Well, it looks like Monty's not live tonight. Looks like the last thing was 5 hours ago for 15 minutes, so. Yeah, I agree with you, Marshall. You're not in here because of a troll. My apologies. I take advantage of situations sometimes, and it's probably a mistake to even pay attention to this person, so I'll just move on. Monty, I just checked YouTube. Monty is not live right now. I don't know when he will be. Okay, I got a message here that says, I support Julia Trimp. This, again, from the individual that is concerned for Tim's safety. That came out of nowhere. I was surprised, Julia, but she said that she supports you. That's interesting. You know, I sent her a message to contact you, and I may drop you a message telling you who this is. It's somebody that is very, very supportive of Tim Holmseth. So, I'll just let you know that up front. Dino might want to pass a message on to Tim that there is a woman from Virginia that is very supportive of him that wants to talk to him. So maybe you could do that much. Well, Julia, I have a message. Go, Julia, go. Apparently, she likes you because you're standing up to the Blizzard Witch. Lipstick Pundit is asking if the person knows any of Tim's family. I would suspect she does, because if, and I say if, it's the same person that I think she is. She's known Tim for 10 years, and so she would know everybody in the family. Daughter, mother, father, the whole thing. Okay, Julie, I understand that. But, you know, I doubt that she'll ever go on the phone with anybody. If it's the person I think it is, I was on the phone with her once 10 years ago, and that's the only time that we ever talked. She's an extremely hard person to get to talk to. Well, welcome, new troll. Ooh, my numbers are going down. Well, Dino, it's hard for Tim to expose a pedophile if he's hiding. He's not doing a very good job. Well, whatever the name is there, I can't pronounce that. But yeah, that's why I allow these posts in here, because they're being recorded. Levi, actually not. When when I had her on the phone, she was really nice. We had a brief conversation, and in the beginning, I thought everything was fine, but as you know, as time went on, things just went south in a hurry, and she never ever contacted me again. Okay, well, say hello to DeFango back. I have not gotten into the DeFango situation, so I don't know why his name's being dropped in here. Kansas, that's correct. Timothy was adopted, and he declared a long time ago that his birth name is Lawrence Hoff. And he named his son after his surname. So that's where Hoff comes from. That's correct. God is with the truth. Yeah, I have no argument with DeFango. I told people a long time ago I'm not going to get in the middle of that. So I don't know why they brought his name up. Fireman, I don't know if he'll refuse a public defender or not. And I'm not sure how Florida's going to handle that. But we do have the same as everywhere else where he can go pro se if he wants. It'd be an unmitigated disaster, but he could always do that. But you're not going to see Kirk Pendergrass or Chris Hallett in court. They will be out on their ear. And that postmaster dude, he won't be in court either. Well, Sabrina, that Field McConnell got himself in this situation precisely because he refused a public defender. Yeah, I know Levi. She doesn't exactly like me either, which I'm surprised she even talks to me. But, yeah, patriotic. I remember those photos quite well. They were dismissed by Holmseth for being uh, wholesome pictures, just some kid playing dress up. The problem is that there are pictures out there that are not quite so wholesome that can't be put on a computer because it's considered child pornography. So, there is stuff out there. Yeah, Russell Gould is not going to do Field McConnell any good. Um, he'll be um, thrown out of a Florida court before he even gets a chance to go through the metal detector. That's correct, Adorable. He is pro se at the moment. He may do the same thing in Florida, probably get bad advice from outsiders, and he's just going to be screwed 9 ways to Sunday. Because no, the Florida courts aren't going to put up with this nonsense. They have a lot of experience with these pretend legal people, and they know how to deal with them. Yeah, sorry about that, folks. I'm still having brief contacts with my mystery person over on Twitter. She pops in every once in a while. Good night, Dino. Say hi to Timmy for me. Tell him his friend down in Virginia would like to hear from him. I guess Dino's gonna go do something. I don't know what. Let's see. Just trying to figure out. Well, I agree with you, Levi. I'm glad that he is off the air. I just don't want to see anything happen to him. Uh, being an asshole should be no excuse to kill somebody. Um, yeah, Sabrina, she feels that way. She thinks that there's something big going on with this group because there's a lot going on with that case. And I find it surprising that they're interjecting themselves in a case, Randy and company, that's quite old. James, I agree with your opinion about Northwest Liberty. He is doing Cindy a big disservice by allowing that information to be broadcast over the air. He's going to wind up getting a lot of people locked up by the time this is done. Okay, let me go back over here. Yeah, it's probably your best position to take, Julia. Just keep things quiet about that case for now, because there's just too many people wanting to poke around in there. Tim Holmseth got involved with it, and he really messed things up. Chickaboom, maybe it's him, maybe it's not. See, the problem is, unless he comes up with a way to identify himself other than typing out a few words in a chat room, we have to consider him missing. Sorry if I'm messing up your channel there, Alpaca. Ruby, no, the woman in Dana in Virginia is not the same woman. This is somebody entirely different. She's outside this particular group. Um, Dana is probably hasn't known Tim more than that long. This other particular person has known Tim since way back in the Haley Cummings days, and she's probably the only person that Tim could ever trust. Yeah, it's coincidence that this woman from Virginia popped up, but that particular area of Virginia, I've been over there. I know people that live there, and 90% of the people that live in that area work around the Beltway. Golden Mary, you're right. Dana is dropping a lot of money. It's like she's on a budget. She's allocated certain funds to help these women out, and that's how this ABSUG case, got on a radar apparently. Uh, you're correct in that, Alicia. Phil McConnell has done nothing to help children out. If anything, he's made matters worse because all the attention now is off of legitimate cases of child trafficking and pedophilia and on this nonsense. Rich, as far as I know, there is not a federal warrant for Tim, at least not yet. Joseph Ramos may have just given authorities grounds to issue a federal warrant. Dana is a woman from Virginia, Julia, who is apparently on record helping this Cynthia Abzug stay on the run. She supplied, from what I gather from reading the transcripts, about $7,500 towards her being on the run. And this Dana person apparently does this with other mothers. She has this thing where she believes mothers are being unfairly treated by CPS, and she tries to help them out financially and through other methods. And that's where we get into what happened here. As to question is asked, what were the people going to do with the kids they helped parents kidnap? That's a good question. The only thing I can figure is that they were going to take the kid and the mother and they were going to get them out of the country. But the problem with that is we have extradition agreements with a lot of different countries, and they would just go bring her back. Ruby Tuesday, who is Mary Lee? Mary, if it's the right one you're asking about, her name is Mary McGregor. She's from down in the Carolinas. She's former law enforcement, and she was one of the people that helped Timothy Holmseth out when he wrote his book on Haley Cummings. And she's a friend to an extent. Now, I don't know the current relationship with Mary Lee McGregor and Tim and how she feels about the situation. There was some talk a while back that she wasn't too happy with the way things are going right now. Julie, I agree with you. We're going to have to reserve judgment on this case and let it run its course. Like I said before, this is going to have to come before the court, and all this information will come out through discovery, and at some point, maybe Cynthia will open up a little more on her side of the story, and then we'll see where it goes from there. Now, this is not to say that she may have a legitimate argument as to why these kids were taken from her, and they may not have been fair with her. But you don't go and plan or allegedly plan kidnappings to get your kids back, because that just makes matters worse. James is saying that Emily and Trim had a falling out over Trump, and that could be true. Politics seems to be dividing a lot of people now, and that probably was what did it. Sabrina, as to your statement to Julia, the reason stated for the child being taken from Cynthia Abzug is that they suspected the mother has Munchausen by proxy. As you may know, that's a disorder where someone associated with the victim uses that victim to gain sympathy, and they do so by getting the child or individual sick, and so they can say, okay, my son has this problem, I need help, and they get all the attention, and then all of a sudden they get, there's all variations of it, but Munchausen's by proxy in this case is child abuse, and that's why the state of Colorado took temporary custody of the child, and the hearing that she bailed out on was to determine what the next course of action was going to be. If very well, Cynthia could have gotten some help and improved her situation and got her son back. She chose instead to defy the court and go on the run. And it's just made matters for her a hell of a lot worse. And I will be right back. Thought I'd give everybody a peek at my t-shirt there. Boy, the lag on this camera is unbelievable. I'm going to say that yes, there are probably problems with CPS and things throughout the country, but the thing that concerns me is when people take matters into their own hands and in the process make things worse for themselves, and I think that's what's happened here. Gray Moon is saying, I suspect there are those in the higher echelon pulling strings and navigating this mess. Now, I not only believe that, Gray Moon, but I know it to be a fact. There's a lot going on that I can't talk about, and I think people are going to be in for some rude awakening here in the months to come. As I've stated in the past, the government may be slow, but they're efficient when it comes to certain things, and people are going to find that out the hard way. That's true, Julia. The handlers helped her screw herself, and she's in a bad place because of it right now. What is the point of all this kidnapping and getting them out of the country? I have no idea what they had in mind once they got their hand on the child. I think this is one of these situations where they did not think things through. They just said, okay, let's get the kid and we'll figure the rest out later. I don't think they had anything very well thought out. And I firmly believe that if she had not been caught, it would have been an unmitigated disaster, that there would have been a lot worse happen than just her getting arrested. Linda, I don't think that even dignifies an answer here. You clearly are not trying to come up with a logical reason here. The child was being mistreated according to CPS and according to the hospital. And, I don't think that was even a serious statement, to be honest with you. James, you're absolutely correct. They use these women to get donations. They start these things going, and then they advertise, and the money comes rolling in, and then the kid gets permanently taken away from her mother. Then well, it's too darn bad. We tried our best. This is not the first time that it is alleged that Bill McConnell and his group have screwed up a case. This is at least the third time that I'm aware of. Tim Holmseth does, according to Bill McConnell. Chickaboom. What's funny about all this is we really don't know the other side to this. All we know is Cynthia Ebsug's side. We don't know anybody else's side to this because it's been ignored. Quite frankly, nobody's bothered to discuss it, and it's difficult because under normal circumstances, any legal case involving a child is confidential. You don't talk about it if you're a party to the case, and the state is not allowed to talk about it. It's done in court, and when it's specific to the child, these proceedings are sealed because it is a minor involved. So it's hard to know exactly who's right in this. But the mother went and blabbed about it. She went and told everybody that the reason that she is being haunted by the CPS is because they suspect her of having Munchausen by proxy. And that's a very, very serious situation. People with Munchausen by proxy have been known to kill their children. And right now, the child is in foster care and is being protected. We don't know by who because this information is confidential. But supposedly there are foster parents taking care of the child. Now this gets into all kinds of conspiracy theories, of course. And this is how this woman got talked into this. She was told that these people were pedophiles and satanic ritual people that had her child. And so all of a sudden she gets involved with these conspiracy theorists and wants to get her child back. And she got sucked into this mess. Sabrina, I don't know what Agent 19's doing. I don't think he's involved directly in the case. I think that's a matter that is coming out of the state of Colorado. Agent 19 is a very knowledgeable person. He makes his statements based on his knowledge of the law and his personal experiences, but I don't think he's directly involved with this case at all. And that's correct, Julie, and nobody knows all the facts about the Ebsug case. Again, we're dealing with a minor, and because of that, there's a lot of things that are redacted from public view, and things we will probably never know about. The only thing we're going to know about is what happens to Cynthia when she goes on trial for the charges against her. Sabrina, I think it's a combination of both. I think she's made up stories, and she's also been manipulated. She's like Field McConnell in a way, because Field McConnell comes up with all this weird stuff about the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force and his abilities as the spokesperson for this Children's Crusade, but he's also being manipulated. It's easy to make him believe these things. It's just, he's a useful idiot. And that's why he's in the situation he's in. Because as it turns out, for the most part, we don't hear anything about Phil McConnell anymore. We hear bits and pieces here and there, but for the most part, he's history. And he's gonna, as time goes on, and things happen to him, he's done for. Well, James, I don't think that Northwest Liberty News actually cares. They just want the attention, the publicity, and any future donations. They don't take any responsibility for placing that woman in the situation she's in right now. Sorry, I had a direct message. Kansas pipeliner, as far as regulating the room, I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that yet. Because right now I try to keep it as open as I can. Basically, if there's people trolling the room, you just ignore them. That's the best way to handle it. Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Hello, Tom Morrissey. Welcome. I didn't see you sneak in there. Well, Tom, basically just an update. I read the transcripts about the interviews that Joseph Ramos has done so far. And got into a discussion with a troll or two, and that's been about it so far. The Amy's that were just docs. That's, whoever did that did it on their own. I've been doxxed 1,000 times over, so it just seems to be something that you expect on the internet anymore. That if you get on somebody's radar, they're gonna dox you. That's just the fact of life anymore. It's a risk you take when you get involved in this stuff. Yeah, Linda, talking does help sometimes. Just to kind of work things out. You know, Sabrina, the jail roster is 24 hours behind, and he probably is still in uh, Wisconsin right now until the paperwork gets sorted out. It takes a few days. This is a weekend. I would look to sometime next week that he gets transferred. What you may want to start doing is looking at the Broward County jail roster. So the minute he arrives in Broward County, they're gonna take a mugshot of him down there. He'll be assigned a number and all that other good stuff. And Broward County does things a heck of a lot faster than up north. So he will probably get information from Broward County within hours of when he gets there, rather than waiting until the next day. Yeah, you don't want to be texting and driving. Okay, who's monolithically ignorant about the fact that you were part of AD for years? I think I heard that at one time. Sharp as a tack. What exactly am I exaggerating about? What I'm doing is expressing my opinion. As I've said before, um, don't take everything I say as fact. Take it as an opinion. Check for yourself. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't declare myself to be right about anything. I present here, to the best of my knowledge, what I know to be, if not the absolute fact, at least, as close to it as I can come. Everybody has to judge for themselves. Either I'm right or I'm wrong or I'm somewhere in between. You have to make that distinction. Sharp at the Attack. Ruby, I think, is talking about Timothy Holmseth book, or I think there was a book that Field McConnell wrote at one time. But I think in this case, we're talking about Timothy Charles' book that he wrote about the Hanley Cummings case. Field was supposed to have several hundred copies of those books, and he was either going to sell them with Tim Holmes's signature in the book, or they were going to get distributed at this function he was going to in March. Worst thing Joseph could have done is to go and explain his story. That is absolutely correct. Joseph should not have said one word about any of this. He should have kept his trap shut, because Joseph should have realized that law enforcement are keeping an eye on him. Now, they may not have had probable cause to arrest him at the time, but he has given so much information out on this Northwest Liberty News that he's now probably become a person of interest and may wind up getting a warrant out for his arrest at some time down the road. You know, when you're a party to a case like this, you don't go around giving out details. It's great for those of us who want the information, but it's not so great for Cynthia. Her lawyer must be pulling his hair out right now. Wondering what the hell's going on. Alicia Marie, Joseph has screwed a lot of people. He has not only screwed himself, but he screwed Field. He screwed this Dana woman from Virginia. He screwed the woman from Arkansas. He screwed about a dozen people with all this, and he's probably made it almost certain that Cynthia is not going to get her child back. That's correct, Kara. Just because Joey wasn't arrested on the spot doesn't mean he won't be. And he, like I just said, he probably is assured that with what he's done on these radio shows. He's basically given the foundation of evidence to the prosecutors to charge him with aiding and abetting in an armed kidnapping. That's a felony. Yep, lipstick, he threw everybody under the bus. Is Cindy dating Joseph? I don't know what their relationship is. From what I understand, he was sleeping on the couch. So I don't know if there was anything more to that or not. If you make too much of a soap opera about it and say, yeah, the guy was dating and so on and so forth, it kind of takes away from the situation. I wonder why I'm getting that. Trying to deal with a shadow I've got here. Okay, that'll work. Ark Mossy, or however you pronounce your name, you're doing shows again. Probably on, go ahead and do shows right now. There's no point not to. I'm not looking at the chat all the time, so I might miss out on some of what's being said. I see my name being thrown around, and that's all right. Sabrina, yeah, bringing up the daughter, there's one thing that people don't realize, and that is that this is a 15-year-old girl. And on the radio show, Joseph blurted out the girl's name. That wasn't a terribly smart thing to be doing. She's a minor, for one thing. And it's a disservice to put her name out on the air no matter what, because you're basically, this is a material witness in a criminal case, and you just don't do things like that. Very unfortunate. What is wrong with these people, James? I have no idea. I really don't. And they're not putting the welfare of the child front and center. They're off doing their own thing, and they apparently are not taking the child's welfare into consideration. Liberty News of Sabrina is a very conservative social media / radio station operating out of Montana. That's what Cynthia Abzug was doing in Montana. She actually had gone to that location to talk to the anchor of that program, and she was either on the way there or was leaving there when law enforcement pulled her over. So somehow the daughter knew that she was going to see that talk show host, and that's how she got caught. Does the body of evidence on the whole corroborate Ramos? Be honest, I don't know. It might. The timelines of certain information are starting to come together for what he said and what we've already known. Yeah, sorry about that. I keep communicating with this individual. That's a friend of Tim Holmseth. Every once in a while, she pots me a message. Yeah, somebody just answered your question, Levy. I never really paid attention to the name of the host. He's apparently the guy that runs that whole operation. He's on there, every time that they come on the air, it's him that's doing the anchoring. And it's also, I believe, it's the same guy that posted her bond, Cynthia Abzug's bond, shortly after she was incarcerated. Alicia, that's correct. He let the names come on the air. This was a recorded interview. He did not do it live. He taped it and then put it on the air. He could have easily edited that name out, and he didn't bother to do it. And not a wise thing to do with a teenager. Let's see. As far as Field going to take a plea, that is possible if somebody gives him the advice to do so. The simplest way out of a situation is for Field to take a plea, do a plea bargain with whatever the lawyer comes up with, ask for a reduced sentence based on his age, maybe just probation and a promise not to say anything again and to change his behavior, and be done with it. But if he goes down this road of pro C and the same behavior he demonstrated in Wisconsin, he could be locked up for a very long time because, courts aren't going to put up with this. They're going to say, you have a choice here. And if you don't take the choice, then the risk is yours to take. Kara, that's exactly what he did. He basically gave out a timeline. Now, the people watching this, especially the woman that was kind enough to do these bullet points for me, is doing just that. They are breaking down almost to the minute what happened from the day this woman got involved with the QAnons right up to the present day. And this is all going to the authorities. The authorities are just as aware of this as we are. So the guy has basically dug himself into a hole he's not going to be able to get out of. He might as well kiss his medical career goodbye. Because he's going to be a convicted felon, and with this kind of record on there, you're not going to see this guy anywhere around kids. He definitely wouldn't be a pediatrician, and I doubt he'd be a family doctor that would be treating children. Was it done knowingly for a reason? That, it's a hard one. The bad part of this is he's doing this on a public forum instead of going and discussing it with an attorney and from there to the prosecutors. Instead of doing this a sensible way, he goes on a talk show and blurts all this stuff out. And it basically takes away, you can't, when you're given immunity from prosecution, it's because you have information to give the investigators that they don't know about. But he's blurted it all out, so now they know everything, so he's got nothing for leverage. He can't ask for a plea deal. Well, he can ask, and he's certainly not going to be able to get immunity from prosecution because he has nothing to offer. He's done everything wrong. Can't believe a medical student just took off on a run with some lady who only knew for weeks. Well, common sense doesn't dictate sometimes what people do. I mean, she's not a bad-looking woman, for one. I've seen pictures of her when she's all made up and stuff. She's, a guy that young, he may see something in that. Plus, look at Field McConnell. Field McConnell was a fighter pilot. He was a commercial airline pilot for years, and both professions require someone that can make judgments within milliseconds. They have a high degree of training, and that translates into a high degree of intelligence, yet they do these stupid things, So, there's a no logical answer. You go down a path for whatever reason you go down, and, you're going to suffer the consequences if those choices are the bad ones. And that's what happened to everybody involved in this. Not everybody is stupid. They're just ignorant. Big difference. Okay, Tom, I didn't see your comment. You said that I'm ignoring your 2 points. Ramos dodged the question to keep the show family friendly, and that's an admission of hanky panky. There's no war while there was traffic. So how was that aiding? I'm not sure what the timeline was on the specific warrant. The problem is the woman made it clear that she was keeping away from authorities because she suspected of being subject to arrest. And that is criminal intent. The guy either knew or had an inkling that he was getting involved in a criminal action here. And that's all that is needed by law enforcement to say, okay, you have just demonstrated criminal intent. Now, whether there was any hanky-panky, we don't know. He could, of course, he's going to say, he's a man of honor, so he's going to say, yeah, I slept on the couch. I wasn't up in her bedroom taking advantage of the situation. So, you have to judge by what he actually said, for the most part. You can speculate all you want, but for right now, he said he was sleeping on the couch, and so we let that stand until something comes up different. Sabrina, yeah, that's an interesting thing there because Randy Erickson is a real estate broker, and there's a judgment against her for a substantial amount of money for real estate fraud, and that's a matter of public record. So real estate brokers and used car salesmen don't have the greatest reputation, and stuff like what we see here is a good reason why. That's why I think that there may be something going on with trying to get the assets of Field McConnell's house. They need someone that's an expert in real estate to pull some of the stuff off that I mentioned, and so that's where she might fit into this. Sarah Dunklin was in Wales with the Field deal. Well, that's probably how she got mixed up in all this. Is she knows Field and she knows all the players, and she seems to be at the top of the heat as far as having control and at least the purse strings to pull some of this stuff off. And if she is somehow connected with the State Department, either through her own resources or through that of her spouse, then this would answer a whole lot of questions. Well, I agree with your speculation, Levi. They probably were sleeping together. I mean, they're spending nights in hotels and all this stuff together. I mean, human nature is going to lead to things. But, bad move on his part. There's nothing wrong with having a relationship with a woman, but when you sit there and sacrifice your medical career over something stupid, it's a waste. He's destroyed himself. I don't know what his future is going to be after all the dust settles on this. Well, Godsmack can contact me anytime he wants. I'm doing about 4 things at the same time here, so I'm not seeing everything. I was told that Godsmack is around, and I'm easily able to be contacted. So if this person wants to say something or contact me, he's more than welcome to do so. I'm going to try and get some links to this Monday on the charges. I think right now what's happening is they're in the process of getting her back to Colorado. And I think it's when she gets back to Colorado, the state of Colorado will be the one to file specific charges. It's almost the same thing that's going to happen with Field, is formal charges will be filed against Field once he gets to Florida. The arrest warrant is to bring him in on those charges, And then once he gets to his destination, both these individuals, they will be formally charged. Yeah, you're more than welcome to DM me anytime you want. I have my chat set up so that people can come in. The only thing is, you may want to let me know when you do it, because sometimes it comes through and I don't follow you or you don't follow me. It comes through as a message request, and for some reason I don't see that unless I look for it. Tom, what I'm saying here is that is possibly what he has done. It's my opinion based on what I've seen. I feel that he is aiding and abetting a fugitive. Now, as I have said countless times before, I could be wrong. It's going to be up to law enforcement to determine whether or not they feel that that individual was aiding and abetting a fugitive from justice. It doesn't look good, in my opinion. But, if the law says no, he wasn't aiding and abetting a fugitive from justice, then I was wrong. And I'll stand corrected on that. Again and again and again, I have to remind people what I say on this show is my opinion based on how I feel things are going. You cannot take these things as absolute fact. I'm not an expert on this stuff. I'm not a sworn law enforcement officer, so I don't know that part of it. I'm not an attorney. I just base it on what I feel personally is the conduct of everybody involved in this. And, that's basically what people need to understand when they take into consideration what I say on here. Yeah, that's fine. However you want to work it. That way you can give me whatever information or what have you. I have no problem with that. Julia, was she a fugitive? That's a good question from the legal part of it. The thing of it is, if she was not a fugitive, why the heck was she running all over the place? She could have stayed in one place and been fine, because everybody's saying there's no arrest warrant. She wasn't a fugitive from justice. So there's no reason for her to be bouncing all over the United States as if she was a fugitive. So, it's confusing right now trying to sort all this out. And that's what the final juncture here is going to be, is what comes out in court. Because all the paperwork that had to do with everything as to why she was picked up in Montana and so on and so forth will come out in court. We're in the middle of a story here. This story is not finished by a long shot. Which pediatrician are we talking about? What I was getting at on that is this kid that gave all these interviews and was on the run with this woman is in med school. And one of the things you can do after you graduate med school is to become a pediatrician. Now, because he got involved with this situation with helping this woman wrest her child from the authorities, he might jeopardize any idea of being a pediatrician. That's what I was trying to get across there. Well, Alicia Marie, the daughter gave the story out, and she did miss a court date, and this falls into the same situation that Tim Holmseth got involved in. The initial charge would have been failure to appear, contempt of court. At the point that the daughter came forward and said that her mother was involved with this group and that they were planning an armed kidnapping of the child, then is when there could have been a sealed warrant for her arrest. That part I'm not sure of yet, as to when the actual warrant was given out. Now, there's different interpretations as to whether there has to be a written warrant or that a judge could sign off on an order to get her brought in and then a formal warrant be granted at a later time. That part I'm not clear on. Gynecology. Well, you never know what he was interested in. Well, Monty and Agent 9 are two different people. Anybody that's listened to them can tell that much. There's no way in hell they could be the same person. They're, vocal-wise. Don't know what the date is on the warrant. I haven't seen it yet. He took his father's car thinking that he was being slick. It's dumb logic because the registration appears on the car, but they're going to ask the guy for your driver's license. Say, I need to see your driver's license, registration, and insurance. And the minute the guy hands over the driver's license, he's screwed. So I don't know where the hell he was going with that one. That was the only thing he figured, I guess, if they were running a rolling check on license plates, they wouldn't find his car. I think that's what his logic was. Well, nobody got Cynthia in trouble but herself. She started this mess by skipping court. I don't know if that was before or after she met all these people, but at some point she made bad judgment calls, and she realized it because Ramos even said she began to realize that she could be in a better position to fight all this herself than to get all these goofballs involved. And she realized that too late and never got herself out of the situation. Now that she's out of the situation, maybe she'll come to her senses and take the course she should have done in the first place. All right, Tom, correct me. What was the reason that the guy took the car, his father's car? I put all the things up there. So, I'm willing to be corrected. What is the reason the guy took his father's car? Yeah, I just said that. The car was in his father's name. But the problem is, if he got pulled over, say he ran a red light or something, and they run the tag on the car, they're going to ask for your license, your registration, and your insurance. And the license is what's going to kill him. Because his license, driver's license, is going to be in his name. And it wouldn't do any good to use the driver's license that belonged to his dead father because it's going to be obviously a different person, and then you'd have another charge on top of everything else. Yeah, Alicia, that wouldn't have worked for what I just stated. The driver's license would have got him. All right, if I said that he took it to hide, then I misstated it. He took it in order that law enforcement wouldn't know that it was him driving the car, which is almost the same thing because he's evading arrest. He doesn't want people to know that he is with Cindy Abzug. Well, patriotic, I would hope that they were busted. This is basically, in my opinion now, since we're having a difference of opinion on this, it's my opinion that they are aiding and abetting an armed kidnapping. That's correct. Carol, what usually happens is when a warrant is issued for an arrest of someone, it's put into NCIC. And when a cop pulls you over, he'll ask you for your driver's license, your registration, and your insurance. He'll go back and he'll call in. And he'll call in the license tag, and he'll call in your driver's license. And that's how they find out if you've got a warrant. And they do that for every occupant in the car. And that's how I said that Tim Holmseth will get caught. If he's in the state of Minnesota, if he runs a red light or has a busted tail light or he forgets to fasten a seatbelt, and they run his driver's license, the warrant will pop up, and they'll arrest him on the spot. That's how they catch people. Now, you watch all these cop shows. You watch Cops. You watch this police live thing that's on. And the first thing they do is they run your driver's license, and they come back and they say, well, guess what? We got a warrant for your arrest here. I don't know how many shows I've seen on TV that, the guy gets busted because they run his driver's license. The expired tags just add to his problems. Because, it doesn't matter whose car it is. If there's something wrong with a car that gives them probable cause to pull you over, the first thing they're going to ask you for is your driver's license. They want to know who the hell you are. And that's how he would have been nailed. That 12 miles from the courthouse that Tim Holmseth claimed is a bunch of hooey. The misdemeanor warrant is valid in the state of Minnesota. North, south, east, west. As long as he's in the state of Minnesota, he is subject to arrest. So whoever told him that 12-mile thing was basically filling his head full of nonsense. Golden Mare, that is correct. It's aiding and abetting a fugitive from justice is the technical term for that. And the thing of it is, if he knew that there were plans to do an armed kidnapping of the child, then it gets bumped up to aiding and abetting in an armed kidnapping. Whether it's attempted or not, it's criminal intent to do the crime. The punishment for attempted kidnapping is the same as kidnapping. And the use of a firearm or the commission of a felony elevates the charges. Well, anybody that listened to Russell Gould is a moron. I mean, that guy's got a crack in his head the size of the Grand Canyon. Timothy should have federal charges by now for impersonating a Pentagon employee. Well, that is an ongoing investigation, and that's possible that it's going to happen because it's against the law to misrepresent yourself as an agent or an employee or contractor of an agency of the federal government. It's against the law, period. And then to compound matters, if he's using that to gain something of value or money, that gets into wire fraud for the same reason. There is a warrant and she's on the run. That makes her a fugitive. Yes, but there seems to be a dispute in the chat here as to when the warrant was issued. That's going to come out in court, but I'm pretty sure that they had probable cause to arrest her, and that, that probable cause happened the day she missed her court appearance. Yes, a federal warrant is not only good in all United States, it's good anywhere because we have extradition agreements with foreign countries. If they were to go to Canada, anywhere in Europe, and so on and so forth, we've got extradition agreements. They could bring her right back, especially in a crime involving a child. That's correct, Deuce. It's conspiracy to commit armed kidnapping. And once across the state lines, it's interstate, and this is what brought the FBI into it, because she was in Montana, and the case originated in Colorado. And what's weird is if she had stayed in Colorado, the FBI would never have gotten involved. That's what tripped it. Because once she crossed the state line, she was screwed. Yeah, Sabrina, because what it boils down to is criminal intent. She intended to commit the crime, warrant or not. And she was also in criminal contempt for not showing up in court. Adorable Snowflakes, the article you were reading, it is the same guy. And that is Mr. Gould. He was, there was some court case he was involved in. The parents were willing to post bond, and he turned to him and said, "Don't bother. I don't want you to post bond." And that wasn't that long ago. A few years. I think it was like 2004, 2005, something like that. It says a little over 10 years ago, 15 years ago, something like that. Broward County has real good soap. I think that'll take care of the Vaseline problem. Tom, go back and listen to the broadcast. Now remember, she stated distinctively she wanted to leave the state of California because she felt she was going to get arrested. Now at that time, that guy should have thought, said, "Hey, this woman thinks she's getting arrested. There must be a warrant out, or some reason this woman thinks she's going to get arrested." I mean, this is way back when all this started. I mean, they left Colorado to avoid getting arrested. That spells warrant in my book. That's my opinion. At some point, that guy understood that this woman might get arrested, all because of stuff going on with his child. And this woman had been talking about this case long before this guy came into the picture. Because you go back, you do Google up her name, and she was whining about this stuff going months before she went on the run. So everybody knew her situation. I don't know if this woman's typing or this thing's just bouncing around. News quarter, they both knew that there was a warrant. Well, this stuff's going to come out in court because he will be called as a witness. It's almost guaranteed, and he's going to have to put his hand on the Bible and swear under oath that what he says is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, or face perjury charges if it's proven he's lying. And it is that point where we're going to find out a lot of things, because you start putting people under oath, they start telling the truth real quick. Because perjury is nothing to fool around with. Not everybody is as stupid as Holmseth to go around lying in court. Yeah, Tom, I agree with you there. There was Field McConnell and all these other people that got this woman to think that they were going to be able to help her out of her situation. Remember, she went all the way to Florida to get a notary stamp. That could have been done anywhere. She could have had a piece of paper signed up, went to a local, and, even a bank has a notary for 50 cents or even $1 or whatever it is. You can get someone to notarize a document because all a notary is doing is saying, "Yeah, this woman gave me your driver's license and she said this." Bam. End of story. That's all a notary does. They witness things. In some states you can get married through a notary. It's like a justice of the peace, but... that's all a notary does, is they witness statements. I had a notary stamp when I was a car dealer. It's not that big of a deal. And what a notary has, what makes a notary a licensed notary, is they have to take out a bond. It's kind of like liability insurance. Because all they're doing is they're swearing and attesting that they witnessed these signatures, they checked identities, but they're not swearing to the contents of the document. They're just swearing that this is what the people said. They use... Chris Hallett, is supposedly in real estate. He needs a notary stamp to do that business, just like I had to have one when I was a car dealer. That's all a notary is. Look it up. Deuce and a quarter, an armchair lawyer told him to go on that show. I don't know who told him to go on that show or if he did it. I have a feeling the talk show host convinced him to do it. But whoever told that guy to go on that show and spill the beans is not doing this guy any favor. He's got himself in a bad, bad situation right now. Okay, JT says that Cindy is no victim. And you are correct in the rest of your statement about the children being the victims. And that is correct. Cynthia allowed herself to get involved in the situation because she would use any means necessary. And she didn't care if it was the right way or the wrong way. She knew it was wrong. She found that out about halfway through this mess when it was too late to do anything. And her children are going to wind up being the victims because now the daughter and the son, and I believe she had 4 children. All these children are going to be barred from seeing her, except under supervision. So she's screwed herself, literally. She will not see any of her children until they're adults. That's just the way it's going to be. I believe, Greenleaf, that Parker is a suburb of Denver. So she's in a metropolitan area. This is nothing like Plum City that thing has a population of 600. I don't think there's 5,000 people in the entire county. So she's in the greater metropolitan area of Denver, Colorado. And that's not a hick town by any measure of the imagination. Alicia Marie, I don't think she was in sound mind because, again, we're talking about a woman that is accused of being having an affliction of a Munchausen by proxy, which is, I guess you could call it a psychological disorder. But when you have someone that goes around making people sick just to get attention, then you're not right in the mind. So they may enter an insanity plea over that. Because there's questions about whether Munchausen's is a criminal offense or if it's a psychological offense. It depends on if the children of a Munchausen person gets injured or seriously, injured or killed or what have you because of the actions of the Munchausen person. I wonder if Tim was drugged at some point. Anything's possible, Julia. Because Tim, he exhibits extreme mood swings. That one video he did, he was going along giving an explanation about Chad, I believe, and all of a sudden he starts screaming and swearing and making all kinds of wild gestures. I mean, he went into a rage, and then a second later he calmed right back down again. It was like somebody that is... I can't think of right now, but he just went from one emotional extreme to another. Now that could be play acting, or maybe he is suffering from an infliction of some sort that would cause him to just go off on these tangents. And I think it's bipolar disorder is what I was trying to think of, because he acts bipolar. Tom, you might want to go back and read, because that was what they suspected. They suspected of her of having Munchausen by proxy. That has come out several times. And whether or not they had gotten as far as to make an absolute diagnosis, which is, I think, what the court case is going to get into, this has come out, and this is what I base my opinions on, because this did come out, that she was suspected of having Munchausen by proxy. She may have been diagnosed with it, but she was suspected of it. I mean, she ran away before they could make a diagnosis, if that's your contention. I mean, people just didn't come out of this out of thin air. There was a reason why they suspected that she might have Munchausen's. That is correct, Julia. It's not. But why did they come up with the idea that she had Munchausen? I think it was because the hospital that she went to suspected it. They saw injuries on the child that could not be answered. It's a sign of Munchausen. They went to CPS, who said that for the safety of the child, we're going to temporarily pull the child from the mother until we can get to the bottom of this. And she panicked. Now, what's funny about this, if everybody can go back and check it, when she was in Broward County, Florida, and she asked for permission to leave the state, they said, sure, go ahead. Here you go. Leave the state. Now, if the state of Florida was trying to take her child, they never would have allowed her to leave. This is, people saying, Broward County takes all these kids. Broward County didn't take the kid. They said, here, sign a piece of paper, go on up to Colorado. Best of luck to you. And that was permanent. They didn't say, okay, you go to Colorado, spend 2 weeks here, you better get your ass back here. She was gone from the state of Florida. The state of Florida wanted nothing more to do with her. They had no reason to. This is all on the state of Colorado. So don't be blaming Florida for it, because they had nothing to do with it. She was originally a resident of the state of Florida. Now, whether she changed her residency when she got to Colorado, I don't know. She hadn't been up there that long. But when she took her child to that hospital, which is what she told the state of Colorado state of Florida she was doing, they said, we got a problem here. This kid may be the victim of Munchausen. And that's when things started going. Abchuk was the victim of Phil McConnell, and no, she may not have been the victim of the state of Colorado. I'm holding judgment on that one. I think there's more going on here than just... the children are the victims in the end. They're going to have a broken home now because of circumstances they have no control over. And I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Let's see where we're at here in the conversation. Well, if Tom is in queue, that's his own business. I have respect for Tom and his opinions. A lot of us here are political opposites. If we start talking politics and things like Q, sorry about the focus blur, that's all right, because the reason I know Tom, the reason I know Chad, and the reason I know some of these other people is solely because of Tim Holmseth. The rest of this is just extra stuff. And one thing has to be made clear here, what we say here on my chat and on my stream doesn't matter. We're a bunch of people, we're exchanging ideas, we're exchanging opinions, some of us are right, some of us are wrong, so on and so forth. The only place this is going to matter is in the courtrooms in the state of Colorado and any other courtroom that gets involved. Nothing we say here is going to change a damn thing. All we're doing is just banging around our ideas, our opinions, so on and so forth. And nothing matters. I don't expect anything I say or do here on this show to do anything to influence anyone. All I'm doing is stating my ideas, reporting things as I see them, going down through the statements that I did earlier with the bullet points that Alex was kind enough to make for me. That's all we do here. This is basically a round table where we all get together and we just argue with each other. But in the end, what happens to Cindy, what happens to Tim, what happens to all these people, it's going to be decided by people that have the power to do something about it. We don't have the power. They do. Julia, you could probably be right. CPS, depending on how they're structured, I think there is money that floats around. Foster parents are paid to take care of the children. They're considered guardians ad litem. They're paid by the government an expense for taking care of the children. And it's, there's people that actually make a living doing it. I know people that are making a couple grand a month because you're allotted so much money depending on where you live to care for the child. Food, all that stuff. So that's part of the equation. But the thing of it is, CPS is here for a reason. They just didn't create this thing out of thin air to go trafficking children. They did it because there was a time that it was recognized that it was necessary to take a child away from a guardian for whatever reason. And it was for the protection of the child. That's where CPS comes from. It's Child Protection Services. And has the system grown out of control? Are there abuses in the system? Probably. But there's a right and a wrong way of dealing with CPS and any problems that might be out there. You just don't go and snatch a child and take it away because you may be making things worse for the child. And this is the problem with the movement of people that are against CPS. They're going down the wrong path. If you're going to do something about CPS, do it through the government. Do it through, there's legitimate agencies out there and stuff that advocate for mothers and guardians with CPS. But you just don't go and plot a kidnapping. It's not the way to do things. And so, Julia, you and I are going to disagree on that point. Oh, we've already had the Gitmo thing. Somebody said that Kim went to Gitmo and got cloned. That moronic thing came up recently. Well, Tom, I'm going to have to disagree with you on that too. I don't think it was ever created for profit. I think it was created to help children out. So what's your alternative? Yeah, see, this is the thing I'm curious about. What is your alternative to CPS? How would you handle it? If some woman is beating the snot out of her kid, who are you going to turn to help the kid? That's my question. Who are you going to turn to if it turns out that somebody is suffering from Munchausen by proxy and they're making their kid sick on purpose? Who are you going to turn to? What's the solution? You don't like CPS, so what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do? Who's going to take care of these children if they're abused? That's my question. Everybody gets on there. This is no better than Kirk Pendergrass. Kurt Pendergrass says the law's all screwed up. He comes up with all these weird cockamamie theories, but he has nothing to replace it with, nothing concrete. He says, yeah, we're going to do away with all the lawyers, all this and all that. What are you going to replace it with? Be specific. Nobody's specific about this stuff. They just say, let's get rid of this crap, but what are you going to get rid of it with? CPS might be the worst thing on planet Earth, but okay, what is the solution? What are you going to replace it with? What is going to be the procedure? What is going to happen if a kid gets beat up, mistreated, raped, or what have you? Who's going to take care of the child? Answer that one. Okay, you removed... All right. You say, okay, remove the lady, not the kids. Woman's a single parent. You remove the lady, you got kids there with nobody there. Who's going to watch the kids? Think things through. Sure, it's easy. The woman beats the crap out of the kids, you take the woman out of the equation. Who is going to watch the kids? You're not going to have a 15-year-old girl watching 3 children. So what are you going to do? This is the thing. If you're going to make a complaint that things need to change, you got to come up with a solution. You got to say, okay, CPS is a bad apple. They do all these bad stuff. This is what we're going to do to cure the problem. Come up with a solution, and then take it to the people that have the power to act on that solution. Don't go off half-cocked and do something like this lady did. Yeah, that's correct. You can get neighbors, you can get family, you can get churches, but that does help in some cases. But that's not always the case. There's certain laws in place. You can just fine. If you got a trusted neighbor, not everybody has a trusted neighbor. Not everybody has trusted friends that they can say that they can be assured they're going to take care of the kids. There's been situations like that before where this lady says, okay, this person's good with the kid, let the person has it, and that person winds up abusing the child. There's got to be some way of ensuring the safety of the child than just handing it off to somebody. What's funny about this is it's like Tim Holmseth and what he said about his church up in Polk County. He's saying, okay, these churches have a bunch of pedophiles in there. We've got stories about the Catholic Church and all the pedophiles are there. So the churches just got left out of the equation. So, oh, Dina, you'd have to weigh in with your ignorance and, prove it, Dina. And what's your, Dina, what is your solution here? CPS, all bad, If you get someone, Dina, that is beating the crap out of your child, what are you going to do? Come on, Mr. Genius, what are you going to do? What's going to replace CPS? What's going to replace abusive families? What's going to replace pedophile priests? You're such a genius, you tell us that. Chad, I agree with you. That's the way things are done. That's what was done here. The hospital that examined the child went to court. The court went to CPS. CPS investigated, determined there was probable cause to temporarily, important word, temporarily, take the child, put it into protective custody while they investigated what the hell was going on. The mother skipped town before the process even got started. The second the child was handed over to the foster parents, she skipped town. She didn't even go to court. Initial appearance, boom, not there. So the mother didn't even try. It would have been one thing if she'd been to court 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and the court says, well, we're going to take them away permanently. And maybe she says, oh yeah, they're going to take my kid. Let's get them out of there. She didn't do that. She didn't even give the state a chance. She just left. Did I not watch the Patterson interview? What are we talking about here? What I'm talking about, Tom, is this case right here. Now, not everybody is perfect. Yes, there might be problems with CPS. There might have been somewhere where something went wrong. But the situation is, you just don't, it's like I said, what's the solution? I'm trying to understand the other side, Dino. Tell me the other side. There wasn't any physical harm done to the child. Where did you hear that? According to what I read, the hospital was concerned that they had seen signs of abuse in the child. It was the hospital that made this determination. Medical professionals made this determination, not the state of Colorado. So I'm not, again, we're not going to know all the answers to this until this thing goes to court. We can sit here and argue semantics all night long, but nothing is going to come absolutely clear until this hits the Colorado courts and all the evidence is out there. Because the woman's got a lawyer. And the lawyer's going to get up there and say, look, just like you're saying, this woman had the right to do what she did. So let this get heard out in a court of law instead of in a chat room. Tom, what I am blaming the woman for is her stupid way of dealing with the situation. If she has a case, she should have stayed in Colorado and argued it. She should not have been going gallivanting off to Phil McConnell's and all these other screwballs, because she's only made matters worse. She should have stayed in Colorado and she should have fought it. She should have got a lawyer who specializes in this thing. I have said this at least a dozen times when talking about this case. I'm not taking sides on this, except that she has made an extremely bad move here that's going to probably, right or wrong, result in her losing permanent custody of her children. I think Q is a moron. I do not believe in Q, so that's going to turn off people, but that's just the way it is. I think it's a whole bunch of nonsense. You're correct, Tom. She was led by the handlers. Sabrina, all it is Tom is expressing his strong opinion, which is his right to do so. We may disagree, but I respect Tom's stand on this. It's just we're exchanging ideas around here. We're going to disagree with each other on a lot of things, but that's the way it is. And I have no problem with that. What I state is my point of view. I may be wrong about things. If it is, then I'm sorry. But that is my take on things. Now, I don't know who this Dino is. He's probably somebody we all know. But that's, if he wants to state his or her opinion, that's their prerogative. I don't ban people on there for being wrong or right. But all I'm saying, Dino, is as far as what's going on with Holmseth, he is in a bad way and he needs to get himself out of it. He is in way over his head. Well, you may be right, Tom, and I appreciate your respect, and I respect you too, and I understand you have a strong point of view, and you may know things that I don't know. Um, I'm just going by, what I have seen in the past with these cases. I mentioned before that there's a woman down here in Florida that has the same situation. She's arguing that a preacher or minister or whatever the hell he is from a church took her children and wants to adopt them. And that's the only reason he took them, that they are not justified. The state says differently. They say there's probable cause as to why her children were taken away from her. And I tried to see what I could find out, found that this thing was getting way out of hand, and decided that I don't need to get myself in the middle of it. So I basically got backed out of the situation, backed out of covering it. Julia, that's correct. That's been one of the biggest problems with Tim is if you disagree with him, he'll call you a pedophile. He'll say you're trafficking. He'll say you're running around wearing people's underwear and you betrayed him and all this other nonsense. And this has been a problem with Tim in day one, and it is the only reason I even got involved with criticizing Field McConnell and some of these other people, was specifically because of Tim Holmseth. If Tim Holmseth had not got involved with any of these other people, I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be off talking about virtual reality and webcams and electric bicycles and motorcycles and other stuff. I wouldn't be talking about any of this. This is not the reason I originally set this chat up. I'm not sure why you're not able to see messages, Gray. I did not block this individual. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Oh, God, we're running into the... Well, it'll probably happen, Tom, and these things take a little bit of time. They're going to want to get their foundation of evidence before they start arresting any more people, but it's coming. And this Ramos character pretty well guaranteed it. It'll be interesting to see the part 3 of this conflagration when it drops tomorrow. I wish that he'd dropped that in time for the chat tonight, but it's the way it goes. Yeah, no. Oh, that's why it's happening. All right. Okay, we are about to turn to January 26th, and there's still nothing from our intrepid reporter. Nope. Every pacer entry is an indictment. No, that's not what that is. Okay, everybody, we are at the 3-hour mark. I think what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to take the live stream off. I don't know how long the chat stays up when I shut the live stream off. I'll leave it here in case you guys want to ramble along for a while. But I'm going to go ahead and shut everything down. I appreciate you coming in, even those folks that disagree with me. This is not a regulated chat so far. I basically allow everybody to have free reign. So, maybe my mascot is here. Come here, Amber. Come up and say hi to everybody. Of course, come on, get back in focus. All right, Amber. Here's that one, an out-of-focus dog. Oh, God. Yeah. Yeah. This is the one person in the world that, I don't know why this camera, there it goes. This webcam is weird. Yay, hey, yeah. Hey, say hi to everybody, huh? Hello, hi, hi. Yeah. Yeah, I keep her in the bedroom, and yeah, she just comes up and says, okay, kitty, time for you to come to bed. Come watch a movie with us or something. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. Have a little puppy time here. 7-year-old puppy. 7 or 8-year-old puppy. Yeah, she likes her back scratched. Scratches. Oh, you're hooked on the shirt. There you go. Yeah, let's see what we got going here. If this dog could fly, she'd do it, believe me. She just... Okay, Amber. Bye-bye, Amber. Oh, God. She shoulds. Yeah, she's a long-haired dachshund mix, I believe. Of course, somebody was telling me down at the airport when I was leaving one day, they said, no, they had a dog just like her, and they said, no, it's a long-haired dachshund. It's a third kind that has a short nose. Doesn't have that real long nose that they have. She's still a wiener dog. Anyway, all right, I'm going to close this out. Thanks for all tuning in and all that good stuff. I'll do one of my recorded videos tomorrow. Not quite sure what I'm going to do yet with that, and it may be a little different. I may be able to finally live stream from the car, but it won't. It'll be a recorded stream. It won't be live to YouTube because I haven't got to 1,000 users yet. So if we can get 1,000 users, or subscribers, I should say, I'll be able to live stream from the car. I've modified my data plan, so now I have unlimited data up to 100 gigabytes, so I can do a lot of live streaming from the mobile. And so with that, I will say this is William K. Murtathon, Witness 1. Have a good one.